Well, good afternoon. Welcome to our clinic. I understand this is your first time here. Yeah, and my nurse mentioned that you're new to Minneapolis as well, huh?
Yeah, thanks. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, I just moved here from Chicago to be near my parents since my dad got really sick.
How's it going kind of settling into Minneapolis?
Well, I moved here about 6 months ago, and I've spent most of my time with my family. Uh, Luckily, my dad's doing a lot better
Oh,
now.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I just FaceTime my friends from Chicago sometimes, and I don't really know anyone here in Minneapolis, so I'm just kind of bored, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. Yeah, I just spend most of my time watching TV and reading.
Okay. And moving to a new town's a big adjustment, isn't it? And it can take a lot of time and energy to meet new people. So it's a big change.
Yeah, I'm pretty introverted, so I feel kind of awkward around new people. I just feel like I don't have a lot to offer.
Okay. Forming relationships can be hard and take a lot of time and energy. What's really interesting is that the more and more we study about relationships and try to understand them, is that they are just as vital to physical and mental health as food and water. We need people in our lives to survive and do well. Even some really interesting research recently found that people who are kind of socially isolated, like lonely, they are just as high of risk of having physical and mental health problems as people who smoke 10 to 15 cigarettes a day.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Would you be open to kind of talking with me about today about your process of building more relationships while you're here in Minneapolis?
I mean, I guess. Yeah.
As healthcare providers, we really believe in looking at all of a person and all of their different parts of life. And frankly, I think this is probably related to your physical health as well. So, because social connections are such an important thing and that so many people struggle with loneliness, we actually made this brochure. And I want to show it to you if you don't mind. This is on increasing social connections. If you look here on top, there are these kind of bricks that we've made that constitute a wall. You know, when people are lonely, sometimes they talk about feeling behind kind of a wall, that there's nobody they're connected to. And if you look at this metaphor with me, we can think about this wall being composed of bricks. All right, because we want to specifically address how to look at this loneliness. And the bricks can be composed of both thoughts and feelings. Here, as we look at, there are several things that people talk about in terms of thoughts, like I'm boring, no one likes me, as well as different behaviors. You know, honestly, as you and I have been talking already this afternoon, I've heard you express a couple of thoughts that I wonder if maybe actually works for you. And specifically, you mentioned that you said sometimes you feel like you don't have a lot to offer and you feel pretty awkward in meeting new people. Is that right?
Yeah, I just think I'm kind of boring.
Okay.
Meeting new people for me is, well, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. They're really common thoughts. I hear that from a lot of people. And I really do think that those thoughts can be part of what kind of keeps you away from other people. Now, in addition to the thoughts, let's look at the behaviors here, okay? You mentioned a couple things that struck me, but what do you think? Are there some specific behaviors that you're doing or not doing that may also be bricks and keeping you distant from other people?
I guess I do just spend a lot of time with my parents, and when I'm not with them, sitting on the couch, binging TV.
And certainly being with your folks is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that, but wanting to expand kind of those social connections a bit. I think those really are great examples of the bricks in both the thoughts and the behaviors. So now that we've done that, the next step, as you see here on this little brochure, is to kind of evaluate and challenge them. So let's look at the thoughts first. I want you to try something with me, please. As sometimes these negative thoughts pop up, and I know they do, they just kind of pop up sometimes. I wonder if you might be willing to really intentionally think about someone that you were close to in Chicago that really cared about you. Can you think about someone right now who's maybe really a good friend? Someone come to mind?
Um, I have a lot of good friends in
Okay.
Chicago. My best friend Lakeisha, she would say that I'm a good friend. She'd say that I'm loyal and caring, and that I make her laugh a lot.
Oh, there's some pretty nice things. When some of those thoughts and feelings that pop up, it's like, I'm awkward, I don't have anything to offer. I wonder if you might really intentionally think about, well, this is what Lakeisha would say about me, and she loves me, and she knows the real me, and maybe actually I really do have something to offer. I don't know. Might you be willing to try that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could try that. It might help.
Yeah. It's not like an overnight cure, okay? But we're trying to challenge these bricks, these negative thoughts, with more realistic and rational ones, okay? That really, actually, I'm a good friend and I have good things to offer. We've talked about looking at the thoughts. Now, in terms of the behavior, sometimes when we're wanting to make changes, we have to do things even if they're uncomfortable or outside of our comfort zone. Would you be willing to set a goal for one behavior that you could do that you think would help increase your connections to others?
Well, when I was back in Chicago, I volunteered at the Humane Society. Our group of volunteers actually ended up getting pretty close, and we would hang out sometimes. And I also really do love animals, so that might be a good outlet for me. And maybe I'll check and see if this local Humane Society needs any volunteers.
Oh, I love that idea. I think that's awesome. Volunteering is so great because it gets us out of bed, right? And around other people. It gives us kind of meaning. We feel like we're doing something purposeful, giving back to our community, broaden our social connections. And for you, since you like animals, it'd be a great way to get around animals.
Yeah, I might also, end up finding a puppy or something to take home with me. Having a pet would be really nice for my, happiness, and also walking would just be great exercise.
Totally. And people talk to people who have dogs. It's such a way to kind of engage at dog parks or things like that. People talk to other people. So I think that sounds really, really great. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to look in the back of this brochure. I'm going to give you this pen here. Because sometimes when we make a change, it's helpful to make a commitment. And one of the ways of doing that is writing it down. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you the pen. You can kind of jot down the two things we talked about, namely thinking intentionally about what Lakeisha says about you when those negative thoughts pop up. And secondly, exploring volunteer opportunities at the local Humane Society. Just go ahead and take a second and jot those down, please. So thanks for being open to talking about this. And when we follow up in a couple of weeks, I'd love to hear about how these things are going, okay? How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right,
Thank
awesome.
you so much.
Thank you.